I am Liz Donatelli. Welcome to Reader Seeks Romance, the #1 romance novel talk show on YouTube. I was so excited to welcome back to the show historical romance author Eva Leigh. Eva and I chatted about Waiting for a Scot Like You, the final book in her Union of the Rake series. And she played a round of Regency lingo. Enjoy, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Hi, Eva. Welcome back to Reader Seeks Romance.
Hi, Liz. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. And happy book birthday to you. Waiting for a Scot Like You, book 3 in the Union of the Rake series is now available at bookstores near you. And your book actually received a starred review from Publishers Weekly. So congratulations on that as well.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, it was very exciting.
Yes, it was well deserved.
Thank you.
How closely do you normally pay attention to reviews?
Well, I like to pay attention to the good reviews and then try not to either read the bad reviews or let them affect me too much. But it's very challenging because on one hand, you want to be open and receptive to positive comments, but that means that the doors are open. So allowing like sort of your filtration system isn't necessarily in place. The kind of negative reviews that I'm always hoping for are the ones that say too much sex or there's too much emphasis on consent or things like that. And I'm like, I'm not mad at those kinds of negative reviews.
Okay.
In fact, thank you, because you sell books for me when you give me a review like that.
I love it.
Well, Waiting for a Scot Like You is the third book in the Union of the Rakes series, which is inspired by a lot of things that influenced me in the 80s, lots of movies, music videos. And the whole series, The Union of the Rakes, is inspired by The Breakfast Club, but with a lot less misogyny. And at least I like to think so anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And in Waiting for a Scot Like You, you'll see the clue to the movie inspiration for this road story romance is her name is Beatrice Sloane Lady Ferris, and his name is Major Duncan McCameron. He's taking her to a house party, which is actually, she's a widow. So now that she's out of mourning, she's going to live her best life. So this party that she's going to is, spoiler alert, an orgy.
Did you research orgies for the writing of this novel?
Personally, I have not attended one, although I did go to UC Santa Cruz. So make of that what you will. Orgies have been around probably since, I don't know. I mean, there are dolphins who have orgies. So they've existed for a long time. And we know that they existed in the Roman era.
Dolphins really have orgies?
I think dolphins are really sexual. And I know that sometimes they've actually kind of gotten aggressive with humans. So I'm going to go ahead and assume that counts for the aristocracy of Regency England.
So McCameron and Lady Ferris take this road trip, with the destination being she needs to attend this orgy. So what appealed to you about the road trip aspect? And do you think you'd write more road trip romances?
Because it's a road trip, these two characters are basically stuck together for the duration of the journey. So they learn a lot about each other and themselves as they go through that. And, you can have a lot of really fun kind of dropping into scenarios that might not necessarily necessitate a whole book, but you can get a couple of chapters of something really wacky or serious even going on or dangerous, and then you kind of move on to the next thing and the next thing. And for me, one of the big inspirations for this story was the movie called The Sure Thing, which starred John Cusack and Daphne Zuniga, which is about two college students traveling from the East Coast to California. They're both going to see respective significant others. Well, in his instance, he's going to meet up with a sure thing, which in this instance is going to be a girl that he can sleep with. And so that obviously he wants to go on a journey for that. And I will always be happy to write road stories. I mean, my Blades of the Rose series that I wrote as Zoe Archer, most of those are road stories because they're adventures and they're journeys. So I will continue to go back to that narrative.
Cameron is Scottish, and it begs the question, why are Scottish heroes so thrilling for readers to read and writers to write?
I mean, you can't deny the appeal of the accent.
Nothing like a good Scot, I say.
It's pretty hot. And I have listened to the audiobook of Waiting for a Scot Like You, and there's really nothing quite like hearing somebody speaking dirty with a Scottish accent. I'm just throwing that out there.
Did you like the narrator? Did you like?
Yes, I've picked. Zara Hampton Brown has narrated almost all of my books since Dare to Love a Duke, and I keep requesting her. And the only time recently I wasn't able to get her, she had some family commitments, so she wasn't able to be the narrator for one of the books. But I really like the way she narrates. I really like the way she does my heroes, because it's not sometimes when I've heard audiobooks, the heroes often have this kind of like kind of voice. Zara has this really nice flow with the way that she does dialogue. I think there's something about Scotland which in the cultural imagination is a little wilder, a little more untamed, a little more primal than I think when we think of like, you know, the like England and its ballrooms and tea shops and Rotten Row and people sort of being very decorous. And there's something a little more elemental about in our cultural imagination about Scotland, even without kilts, which is, I know, a big allure. And I will be watching Men in Kilts when it on Stars, so I'm looking forward to that. So I think there's just kind of like this whole sort of, it's a little more rugged, even the landscape is more rugged, and a little less, it's a little more plain spoken, I think. Although Scotland is like the source of huge amount of medical and scientific knowledge. Their universities and their technological innovations are pretty well known. So it's kind of it's a really interesting place. I would love to go back there sometime.
Lady Ferris is a widow. She's an older woman. Did you find writing an older female protagonist to be different or more of a challenge, or maybe even more liberating than writing a much younger heroine?
I did find it liberating, because at the time when I wrote Waiting for a Scot Like You, my heroine and I are the same age. I was 46 at the time. And so it's really, for me, I actually find the sort of innocent virginal miss that is kind of the staple of Regency romance is more challenging for me than writing experienced heroines. So I really liked to writing a mature heroine, a heroine who had lived a bit. This heroine she now has adult children. She's had her experience with marriage. She's had her experience with raising a family, and now she's ready to live her life for herself and on her terms. And I really loved writing about that, and that she was just owned that. She wasn't embarrassed about it. She wasn't apologizing for it. She was just like ready to be like, this is my life for me now. And she has visible streaks of gray in her hair, just like I do. But, you know, there's only certain amounts of superficial coincidence because I am happily married. So to romance novelist Nico Rosso, and check out his book Contactless Pickup, which is available now. And so I would love to see more mature heroines in historical. I think that would be, because, you know, I'm not a kid anymore either, and I'd like to think that my life didn't stop when I turned 25.
Right, exactly.
I am currently working on a book, which will be the first book in a new series. The book itself has no title yet, which we'll be working on shortly, but the series is called Last Chance Scoundrels, and it's about younger sons who've been running wild across London, and their families, after a disastrous episode at a wedding, their families have said, all right, this is it. If you don't get married to respectable women within the course of a year, you're getting cut off. And all three of the sons have to get married. The respectable women that they wind up with are not quite what they seem on the surface. And also, coming up this year, if you liked Duke, I'd Like to F, well, the band has gotten back together, folks, and we're going to have something new for you this year, and I think you're really going to like it.
Ooh, exciting. What's a stern brunch daddy?
Okay. So the premise of a stern brunch daddy, I think, was really first proposed and codified by Andy J. Christopher, the author of Not the Girl You Marry and other contemporary romances. And the stern brunch daddy is uh, generally this, like, the way you sort of picture him is he's the kind of guy who, after he's been pleasuring you all night, the next day he takes you out to brunch and he makes sure that your mimosa is always topped off, and he is there to take care of business and take care of you. So it's not that you can't take care of yourself, but he wants to make sure that you're getting your needs met. And he's a mature guy. If you can picture, one of the iconic stern brunch daddies is Oscar Isaac with his beard. There are some pictures of him looking pretty stern brunch daddy. Andy J. Christopher is the woman who's credited with the stern brunch daddy, and I after reading her description, I was like, I have to put a stern brunch daddy into this book. And I wish I could remember who coined it, but they called McCameron a stern brunch laddie, which I thought was pretty hilarious.
Oh, yes.
He's Scottish, see, he's Scottish.
Yes, no, that is awesome on all counts. Barking irons. What is that?
Those are barking irons, are firearms or pistols.
Correct. What is a Merry Andrew?
Mary Andrew was a person who, in my understanding, was like if they were traveling shows, like there was like a person in the audience who was, or like part of the show, who was kind of like the wacky, zany guy telling jokes or doing pratfalls and things like that. I'm not sure if I got that right or not.
I will accept that answer. I have down here someone who clowns, a buffoon, or a fool. What is blue ruin?
Gin.
You are good. Okay. What does it mean to be leg shackled?
Married.
Okay, you're on a roll. If I were to say that someone has a bacon face, what does that mean? You bacon-faced Merry Andrew?
Are you greasy?
I think
or red?
it means full-faced.
Oh, I'm not familiar with that one. That's a new one.
Feel free to use it. Feel free to use it.
Sometimes I learn things too. I'm not a repository of all knowledge, which has come as a disappointment, but it's true.
Oh. What does it mean to draw someone's cork?
I can only guess. I feel like it's kind of like, are you provoking them?
It is aggressive. It is you punch someone in the nose and cause them to bleed.
Wow. Oh, well, that makes sense because it's like the wine coming out.
Oh, I didn't even think of that. Yeah, that's true. Last one. What does it mean to drive a unicorn?
My God, I've never heard that expression before.
It means to drive a vehicle with 3 horses, one in the front and then the 2 horses in the back, and that's a unicorn.
Wow. Well, there you go. I've learned something today too. So thank you, Liz.
Thank you. Thank you. You're welcome. You're welcome. I'm glad that we have a mutual exchange of information and ideas.
It's so nice. It's like a little salon between you and I.
Eva, it's been a pleasure, as always, to chat with you. Thank you again for returning for your second time on Reader Seeks Romance.
Thank you so much for having me. I always enjoy our time together.
Thank you.